بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه من والاه. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا Allah. O Allah, increase us in knowledge and make us learn what benefit us and make us benefit from what we learn. Ameen. So today is only a review. So to somebody like Sister Tasneem, it might be boring. So you're absolutely okay if you want to leave, but it's a review. Some sisters and some of the brothers that were not here necessarily earlier, so that was the point of doing some review, so we can try to bring the class up to the same point, inshallah. Okay, I'm not going to go over class one. Class one was the manners and etiquette of learning. You can read that on your own, but when you read it, you realize, and all the PDF files are in the page, inshallah, right? The Fiqh of Purification page. Handouts? We're not that sophisticated, no. Everything is on PDF in the group. I'll show you on Facebook, inshallah. So you can download it, you know, and have it on your phone or your tablet. I know you're new, right? Suraya, right? Lamia, sorry. You're in and out, right? You did not attend all of them, but some?
I started attending it later.
Again, okay. And Sister? Sarka? Your name? Oh, you did not come before. Okay. And Sister? You can in and out. Two classes, okay. And okay. That's fine. So different degrees. Okay, khair, inshallah. So the first class was about the etiquette of learning, and when you go over it, it's really fascinating how Muslims learned and how Muslims acquired knowledge, and their respect for knowledge and the respect for learning, right? The fact that you are here, even though if you don't come every single class, you have to be very thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alaykum salam. You have to be very thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people hanging out, going to parties, chatting, chit-chat, whatever, but you're here to learn about your deen. Alhamdulillah. So you should be very thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that give us this opportunity. Alhamdulillah. So you can go over class one on your own if you want, ask me questions. Class two, we started talking about fiqh and definition of fiqh and what fiqh means exactly. And again, I'm not going to go over every single slide, but just the general idea, and then please read, and if you have questions, and hopefully you can catch up by next week. So fiqh basically means to understand something, to understand something. Prophet Muhammad said, "Man yuridullah bihi khayran yufaqihu fi din." Whoever Allah wants good for him, He make him understand the deen. He make him understand the religion. Since the Quran is made up of and you can take notes, and then the PDFs are all online, which has all the notes, but you feel free to take your own notes, of course. Since the Quran is made up of 1/3 of the Quran are stories, 1/3 of the Quran are talk about worship and tawheed, and 1/3 of the Quran talk about what to do and what not to do, like the commands, which is fiqh. Many scholars says fiqh equals 1/3 of the Quran. When you understand fiqh as if you understood 1/3 of the Quran, which is a huge amount. It's a huge amount. Also, so that you know, when you go to Islamic universities, you don't study, when you go to Islamic universities, you don't study fiqh year 1 or 2 or 3. The first 3 years you study Quran, you study Tawheed, you study Hadith, and only the top students go to fiqh. Okay? Why? Because fiqh needs a lot of analysis and needs a lot of comparison and needs a lot of patience. Not that Quran doesn't, or Hadith, no, absolutely not, don't get me wrong. But fiqh, as you can see, fiqh uses, let me just mute this. Fiqh uses Quran to come to the ruling. Fiqh uses the Hadith to come to the ruling. And fiqh uses other matters we're going to talk about to come to rulings. That's why fiqh is so comprehensive, right? Stop me at any time, please, if you think you we talked about Sharia, the word Sharia. A lot of people think Sharia means when someone steals, you cut their hand, and when someone kills someone, you kill them. That is part of the Sharia, but that's not all the Sharia. The Sharia includes a lot more. It includes the Aqidah and the Tawheed and the Iman and the principles of Iman, right? And the principles of Islam. That's all Sharia. And it also includes the Hudud. And it also includes the Fiqh. So Fiqh is portion of the Sharia. That's why when you talk about the Sharia, who's the Musharri'? Musharri' is the person who makes this, right? Who makes the Sharia. The real Musharri' is Allah, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one that comes with all the matters in our deen. Prophet Muhammad himself was a Musharri', but not an independent one. He did not sit there and say, let's do this, let's do that. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described him in the Quran that he is وَمَا يَنْطُقْ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. He does not say whatever he wants from his own desire. He says it through revelation. So everything comes to him, right? So whenever he say, it's actually from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Sahaba themselves, who understood the deen so much, like nobody else, were not musharri'een either. Were not the people who made the law, right? But they understood the law so much that they used it in the different situations. And then you have the fuqaha. Fuqaha are the people who who deal with the fiqh matters, and again, they do not make any tashri' or any sharia. They are the ones that interpret the law. They understand it so well that they can say, this is already decided, matters are very clear, these are matters which are modern. They can come up with fatwa or whatever, right? We are not fuqaha, and it will take time to be fuqaha, but by the end of this course, I hope that you at least get the feeling of fiqh, an understanding of the fiqh, an appreciation for the fiqh. It's not gonna make you fuqaha, but you after, if you stick to the course, and I hope you do, it's gonna change the way you think completely about fiqh. A lot of people think fiqh is this is halal, this is haram, or this is how I pray, this is how I make wudu. Yes, that's part of the fiqh. But how did they come up with this is halal, this is haram? How come did they come up with this is how to pray, and this is how to make wudu, and this is how to make ghusl? That's the derivation of using many principles, and of course evidences from the Quran and from the Sunnah and from the Sahaba to come up with these things, right? So the Sharia is the very big umbrella under which is al-fiqh, right? Fiqh itself is the definition of fiqh is the practical legal rulings that are derived from specific evidences. It's practical because it deals with practical matters. You're traveling, you can combine your salah. You prayed and you made wudu and you wear your socks, you can wipe over your socks. What are you looking for? You want the book? Oh, nice. Okay, you can do that. Nice. You have the slides? I don't have the slides. So just listen for now. Sorry. And I'll tell you, inshallah. Remind me after the class if you want. You can download them. Whether or not you attend, inshallah, it will be of use. It's practical because it deals with practical matters, right? In the deen, but it doesn't stop at practical only because the traffic law is practical, but it's not fiqh, right? It has to apply to the Islam or the deen. That's why it's legal, right? That's why it's called legal, and it's based on specific evidences. You can't just say, well, I think, I believe. You have to have evidences, right? And the evidences to us come from things like the Quran, like the Hadith, like the statements of the Sahaba, like the ijma', what they call the ijma', which is the agreement of the scholars, right? And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "La tajtami'u ummati ala dalala." My ummah will never agree on dalala, on misguidance. Meaning, which is an amazing concept. Amazing concept. You can get, in the worst times of Islam, in the worst time of the deen, you can get bad scholars, and there are bad scholars, and there are misguided scholars, and we have them today, because Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us about them. You can have so many of them, but you will never have every single one bad. You'll be at least one person who say, I do not agree with you, and here's why. And he could be the one on the truth, on the haqq, right? On the haqq. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us, وَلِدَ الْإِسْلَامُ غَرِيبًا وَسَيَعُودُ غَرِيبًا. Islam was, this is not in the notes, sorry, this is additional. Islam was born stranger and will go back stranger. فَطُوبَ لِلْغُرَبَاء. Give glad tidings to those strangers. It was born stranger because when Islam came, nobody knew about Islam. Everybody was worshipping idols or whatever, or the sun or whatever. Islam came to say no slavery. Islam came to say rights for women. Islam came to say rights for the kids and everything, right? So it was a stranger. And then it will go back to stranger because a lot of people now are misguided, including Muslims, right? There's 1.5 billion, maybe 1.6 billion Muslim. There's about 5 plus something billion non-Muslim. There's a lot of non-Muslim. And within the Muslims, there are different groups, different sects. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, my ummah will be divided into 73 sects. All of them are in hell, except one. He said, which one, Prophet Muhammad? He says, that which me and my Sahaba are on. This, what he stated to us, right? And you see today people who says, I only follow the Quran. They call them Quraniyun. This is kufr, right? You cannot say, I do not follow Prophet Muhammad. You will see people who says, oh, after Prophet Muhammad there was another messenger, like Al-Ahmadiyya, right? Or Al-Qadiyaniyya. He says, there's another messenger, there's another prophet came from Muhammad, right? And the Quran says, he described Prophet Muhammad as what? As Khatamun Nabiyyun. You are the seal of the prophets. You're the end of the prophets. So you cannot say that. They depend on the fact that people don't read Quran. People don't understand Arabic. And sometimes they make their own translation and it's all messed up, right? That's why you can never replace the Quran that is in Arabic. However, the translated Quran can be confusing. That doesn't mean we don't translate the Quran, right? But if you want the correct thing, you should always try to go back to the Arabic. And there are, of course, number of trusted translations, so don't feel bad that we inshallah follow. Okay, the big difference, what's the big deal with evidences? We talked about it's a very important concept. When someone tells you, do this, or Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said this, and does not give you the source, where did you get it from? Al-Bukhari, Muslim, Abi Dawood, Ibn Majah, these are the books of hadith. Or Allah say this, okay, which ayah is this? Which chapter? Let me know, right? If he doesn't tell you all these things, you gotta be suspicious. Maybe that person doesn't have bad intention. Maybe he got it from someone else, right? But as Muslims, you must have an evidence to what you do, what you say, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells in Quran that whenever you disagree or have dispute about a matter, what do? You go back to Quran and Sunnah, Allah and Rasul. End the story. If you go back to Quran and Sunnah, there's no disagreement, inshallah. Right. Well, I'm going to skip the sources of fiqh, of course, we talked about it. The Quran is the very first source of fiqh, right? And I'm skipping through slides. The second one is the Sunnah, right? The Sunnah is not just the hadith of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Hadith is part of the Sunnah. It's a major part of the Sunnah. It's what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said. But sometimes he approved something, silent approval. Something happened in front of him, he did not say no. He approved it. That becomes also part of the Sunnah that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, did, or watched, or observed, right? So it's speech, actions, or silent approvals, right? Now, sometimes people say, okay, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ wore thawb, wore abaya, or jilbab, whatever you call it. I'm going to wear jilbab. You can do that because you love Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, but it's not part of necessarily the Sunnah. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would have said, wear this. He did not say, wear this. Nobody in front of him says, should I always wear this? And he did not say anything. He did not say that. So that means what? You can wear pants? You can wear pants. You know? For sisters, you have to cover, of course, but you can still wear pants. But there are certain, definitions to what we wear as Muslims, right? The second one, which I will say, is this thing is not part of the Sunnah. You wear it, it's fine. Some communities think if you don't wear it, your salah is not even correct, and that's not correct at all. So there are certain things Prophet Muhammad ﷺ ate with his hand, but he never said eat with your hand. If you eat with your hand because you love Prophet Muhammad ﷺ with 3 fingers, that's fine. But if you don't eat with your hand, you use the spoon, you have a sin? No, you don't have a sin. That's fine, right? So there are certain things Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, do it. And certain things did not say anything about it. Now, when he say do it, it's not always a must. Sometimes it's mustahab. So the must meaning wajib, fard, meaning you must do it. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said what? Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, wa aqimu salah, establish the salah. You must pray. There's no joke about it, right? Most scholars says if one does not pray, he's kafir. And they disagree on is he major kafir or minor kafir. We'll get to that later. Just remind me and I'll tell you. It's a very fascinating discussion. But he also told us, for example, when you sleep on your right hand side. So if you sleep on your right hand side or you sleep on your left hand side, did you make a sin? No, because it's a mustahab. It's a good to do, right? It's not a must to do. It's not a must to do, right? So there are things that are wajib, there are must, there are fard, and there are things from the sunnah. Think about it. And there are things that are mustahab from the sunnah itself, right? And same thing when he says don't do something. It become either haram or become makruh. It depends on the situation. There are, inshallah, many examples. The sunnah came so that it explains certain things that are not explained in the Quran. Because Quran is not a book that say, okay, number 1, number 2, number 3. Quran give you general things. And that's part of the miraculous part side of the Quran. It's all for all time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? وَفِيهِ تِبْيَانٌ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. In the Quran, there is explanation to everything you can think of. It's just that we do not have that knowledge to come to that every single thing that is in the Quran. Sunnah comes to explain certain things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ, establish the salah. But in the Quran, doesn't explain how to pray. Prophet Muhammad said, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. So pray like you saw me pray. And he prayed, and we know how to pray through that. And then there's the ijma', we talked about it, which is the agreement of the scholars, right? And there's something called qiyas. Qiyas is when you know one matter very well, you know the ruling for that matter very well, and there's a new matter that you don't know anything about, but it has similarity to the matter that you know about. Then using qiyas meaning comparison, you can say, then the ruling of this applies to this. For example, the very famous example is wine and drugs. So wine or alcohol is established in the Quran. It's haram. That's it. It's forbidden. You cannot drink it. It's one of the major sins. But drugs is nowhere in the Quran or in the Sunnah. But the wine or the alcohol in general intoxicate the mind. And when you intoxicate the mind, you cannot pray, you can do something, you can kill someone, you can kill yourself, you can do all kind of things, right? And drugs also intoxicate the mind. So the scholar says, this is similar to this, so drugs is also haram. Not makruh, not whatever, haram, right? Someone said, wait a second, but drugs I can use for someone who's sick, right? It's an argument, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us that for every disease, there's a cure. So just because we think the drug is the cure, but Allah said it's haram, you cannot use that. You cannot use something that Allah said it's haram to treat someone. Because there will be an alternative, you might not know about it today, but there is an alternative that we'll find out about it later. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us, إِنَّ اللَّهَ طَيِّبْ لَا يَقْبَلْ إِلَّا الطَّيِّبْ. Allah is good and only accept what's good. So someone says, okay, look, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket. It's $1. I'm going to win $1 million. I don't really need to keep it. I'm going to take this money and give it to masjid. Can't do that. It's a great intention, but you can't do that because this gambling is haram in Islam. You cannot say, but my intention is good. No, Allah said, I only accept what is good to start with. So you cannot start with something bad and do it and change it like that. Right. However, and this is an important matter as well, fiqh was supposed to be a unifying factor to us. If we apply fiqh and we understand fiqh correctly, we will all fast Ramadan in the same day. We will all break the fast in the Eid or whatever in the same day, right? We will all pray maybe like this, or maybe like this, or maybe we'll always do this. Certain things, right? But there are difference of opinions, right? There are difference of opinions. Part of the difference of opinions is the lack of knowledge. Not everyone has knowledge. And so some people follow certain opinions, certain scholars. And sometimes some of the people you follow are not necessarily correct. And sometimes they are correct, it's just different opinions, right? If we have lack of knowledge and someone come to us and seems like he's knowledgeable, we will follow him. He says stuff and good stuff and everything. It's like, okay, cool, he sounds good. Let's follow him. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us that one of the signs of the Day of Judgment is that there will be scholars who, or imams, or whatever you call them, sheikh, who use their desire, their hawa, their whatever they want to judge, to tell you, not the evidence. What does that mean? Meaning he has knowledge. He has knowledge, but because he has knowledge and I don't have knowledge, he's using what? He's using weak hadith. He's using fabricated hadith. But I don't have knowledge to debate or even to tell him what is this, and so he uses it, right? That's why we see in our countries people say we celebrate Prophet Muhammad's birthday, and they give you evidences about it. But it's really simple. If it was to be done, how come the Sahaba never celebrated? They knew the Deen best, so we know better than them, and they give you all kind of things, right? And other reasons. Now, some of the reasons, and I'm sorry if I'm going in a fast pace, but I'm trying to. Is that okay pace so far? Is that a fast pace or is it? Okay. Some of the reasons why the scholars with the good intention, we're not talking about the ones with bad intention, differ and they have different opinions, is that sometimes the text was not available, right? The early scholars, we talk about the big imams like Abu Hanifa or Ahmed ibn Hanbal or Shafi'i, these are the big scholars, or sometimes we call them madhabs, right? Most of the hadith was in the Hijaz. Hijaz is in Medina and Mecca. That's the called Hijaz area. People in Iraq, which was a major area, did not have access to the hadith. So they started making opinions to what they make like best of. They have some hadith, but they don't have a lot of hadith. So they start making their opinions based on what they think. That's why we had the school of hadith in Mecca and Medina, and the school of opinion. They call it Ahlul Ra'i versus Ahlul Hadith. The people of Ra'i, opinion, the people of the Hadith, right? Sometimes the text interpretation was different. A famous example is Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. He sent an army to Banu Nadir. Banu Nadir was Jews and there were a war between them. So Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told them, don't pray Asr. Banu Nadir is the name of that Jewish tribe. He told them, don't pray Asr until you reach Banu Nadir. As they were traveling, Asr came. One group said, wait, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us, don't pray Asr until you get there. So I'm not going to pray until I get there. The other group says, no. He told us this, so we try to make it to there by Asr. But Asr is here, I'm going to pray. See, it's one text, two different interpretations. These are the Sahaba. And so, let's say half of them prayed, and the other half waited, and they prayed later. Then they went back to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. They told him, and he says, you're right, and you're right. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told them, you're right, and you're right. What happened today, if you tell this to one imam? You guys are going to hell. Stuff for them. Right? You see a lot of scholars, the first thing they want to give advice to someone, brother, you're going to hell. That's really wrong approach. Because A, we don't know who's going to Jannah or hell. You need to worry about yourself. You need to work hard on yourself first, right? And B, this is wrong approach to tell someone like this. Okay. Another reason why they differed in the fiqh opinions, right, is that the definition of a term. So, for example, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says in the Quran, وَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ. Who speaks Arabic here? Tasneem. Okay. Is that yes? Oh, okay. But it's good to mention the Arabic a little bit, right? Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us about the wudu in the Quran, and He says, wash your face and your hands to al-marafiq. Al-marfiq is this, the elbow. So the fuqaha, some said, okay, I'm going to do it just before the elbow. Another group says, no, behind the elbow, right? So which one is it? We'll talk about this. The correct one is behind the elbow, okay? But that's different in opinion, right? The divorce. when a man and woman divorce, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the man and woman, they call it idda, right? The time or the period where, she can go back, he can return her back, that kind of thing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us in the Quran that you can return them within thalathatu quru, 3 quru. The definition of quru, some fuqaha says, is 3 periods for the women, and some people said no, it's 3 from the time of cleansing. So people says from the beginning of the period, some people said no, it's from the end of the period. Okay, it's 7-10 days different. Still there's a difference, right? Difference of opinions, right? Right. Sometimes how to apply the principles of fiqh. There's our principles that you use to derive the different fiqh. For example, very famous principle, it says, al-yaqinu la yuzalu bishak. Certainty is not removed by doubt. And this is a very good concept. You need to know about it. Al-yaqinu la yuzalu bishak. Certainty is not removed by doubt. What that means, and this is the stronger opinion, okay? You have wudu, you're sure you have wudu, but you don't remember if you broke your wudu. Did I go to the bathroom? Did I, whatever? You're sure you had wudu, you're not sure you had wudu. So this principle says what? What you're sure about is you have wudu. What you're not sure about is you broke the wudu. Then you have wudu. Because this doubt cannot kill what's certain. Cannot kill what's certain. So that certainty is not removed by doubt. Right? You're fasting. You're sure you started your fasting, but you're like, did I drink water, or was I dreaming when I drink? You're not sure. You're sure you were fasting. You're not sure if you broke your fast. Then you're fasting, right? So this concept applies to many things, right? But then even that same concept, sometimes the fuqaha takes it in different ways, right? Right. And then sometimes the fuqaha are different. The fuqaha are people who interpret fiqh, right? Right. Sometimes they are different because sometimes they make the ruling based on one hadith. They call it a hadith. It's hadith that's been narrated only once. There's only one version of it. Okay, there's a chain of narrators, but there's only one version of it. Many hadith, you'll see it in Bukhari and Muslim and Abi Dawood and Ibn Majah, all these different books of hadith. But sometimes you see just one hadith in just one book. And some scholars take it because the chain of the narrators are all trustworthy. They take it. But some other scholar says, I'm not going to take hadith. So even that, they have difference in opinions. Sometimes they even says, this one has a number of narrators, many narrators, and this one has only few. I'm going to take the one with more narrators. Difference of opinions. But the real wisdom, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is halal, this is haram, and all that stuff, is that He's testing who loves Allah most. Who loves Allah most. Because if we love Allah and this is haram, that's it, end of story. You're not gonna, I know I gotta do this, but I know I have to pray on time, but I gotta study first. You're not gonna even think about that, right? Then we got into the history of fiqh. I'm not gonna get into that. It's very fascinating. You can read it on your own. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. Let's move to class 3. Class 3. The first few slides are repeats. Excuse me. In class 3, we talk about the first hadith when we were going over the book Bulugh al-Maram, right? So the first hadith, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "Inna al-ma'a tahir la yunajjisu shay." Meaning, sorry. The first hadith, it says, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was asked about the sea. The Sahaba were in the sea, and he says, "Can we make wudu? Can we make wudu from the sea?" So he said to them, "Inna al-ma'a tahur huwa al-tahuru ma'uhu al-hillu maytatu." Meaning, its water is tahur, and its dead are lawful to eat, are okay to eat. So, right. So we get into a little bit of definitions, tahur and tuhur, right? Tasneem, do you know the difference? You know the difference? Tahur and tuhur. It's okay. So tahur is something pure and purifying, right? Something is pure and you can use it to clean others, right? And tuhur, or sometimes used tahir, is pure in itself. So honey is tahir, right? But you cannot use it to make wudu. Otherwise you're going to be very sticky, right? Water is tahur because it's in itself pure and you can use it to purify others, right? To clean others.
So tahir and tuhur is the same thing?
It's very close.
Before we use the word tahir only.
You can just use tahir, that's fine. Sorry if I confused you. Yeah.
Look, I thought it was like how you had wudu and wudu.
Right.
What's the action and the
Right.
one is
So yeah, I didn't want to get into that because
Yeah, I thought it
because of
was-
the shortage of time. So let's stick to that. Keep it simple. So when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was asked, "Is this what can we make wudu?" He did not say yes or no. He gave you a general answer, and this is a good, amazing principle about Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Whenever someone asked him something, he didn't just answer that little thing. He gave you a general thing to apply in many different situations. If he just said yes when they asked him, "Can we make wudu?" Someone could have said, "Okay, I guess when I'm in a ship, I can make wudu," or seawater is always tahur, or when I'm traveling, then it's tahur. You don't know which one is yes for. So then he said, the water of the sea is clean, is pure, right? And he also said maybe people want to eat. Then when you see the dead fish, you can actually grab it and eat it. You don't have to catch it yourself. You can grab it and eat it, right? So he answered the water and the food, right? Right. And that tells it that all that is in the sea is halal, right? And there's more into that, but we're not getting into that class. Things like animals that walk on the land and go to the sea, animals that are mostly in the sea but not on the land, or opposite. So this is another class, hopefully maybe in the future, the fiqh of food, right? So we're gonna skip that, right? Hadith number 2, it says, surely water is tahur and nothing makes it impure. From Muhammad ﷺ, there was a well called Bi'r al-Bada'a well, and that well was dirty. Sometimes it will have some dirt, right? And so the Sahaba says, can we make wudu from this well? So, and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Inna al-ma'a tahur la yunajjisuhu shay, meaning the water is tahur, is pure and purifying, and nothing will make it impure. Nothing will make it impure, right? You're going to say, wait a second, if I drop something in the water, it might make it impure. And we're going to get into that. If you can, to summarize, if you can call that water, then it is pure. If you can call it water, so for example, you have a glass of water, you know it's water, you can drink it, tastes water. All of a sudden, you drop a tea leaf or a tea bag, right? And now it became what? Tea, right? And some people call it tea water. Is it water? In the definition of Sharia, of fiqh, it's not water anymore. It's tea water. It's tea. So it's not water. Meaning, if you can call it water, then you can use it for wudu or ghusl or whatever. And we're going to come to a different concept later. Maybe I should just explain that. And this is really the underlying principle, so we can summarize. If you see a change in the water, and the change are in terms of 3 things: smell, or taste, or color. You see those: smell, or taste, or color, right? Smell, taste, color. If you see that, then you cannot use that water to do wudu or to do ghusl or whatever that you're doing to purification, right? If you don't see any of that, even though some najasa or some impurity dropped, but there's no change in water in terms of smell, taste, and color, then you can use that water. A good example is sea. You're in the sea, right? Sorry, my language. And someone urinates in the sea. That area maybe, but everything else is clean. You can make wudu, you can make ghusl from that water, right? And this is at the end of the day is the underlying principle to changes. So that well, the Sahaba were not throwing garbage in it. What happened is this well was in a low level of the ground, and so sometimes people throw garbage other places. When the rain comes, it drags the garbage to the well. Because some people will say, hey, look at the Sahaba, they are not environmentalists and all that stuff, and it's absolutely not, right? Right. And right. And this specific concept that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us, that the water is generally pure, clean, and can clean others, and nothing can impurify it, is a general concept. Does not apply only to that well. Because there's a concept in fiqh, it says al-ibratu bi'umum al-lafzi la bi-khusus al-sabab, meaning we take the generality of the word rather than the specificity of the situation. Right? So this applies to the water in general, then the water in general, inshallah, is clean, right? So, can water become impure? I'm going back a little bit to see if you were listening. Can water become impure? No? No? So I have a bucket of water.
Well, if you put something in it and changed it.
So then the answer is yes.
Yes.
But the hadith said it cannot be changed. What's going on? Alright. So in order for us to understand that, we went to the different concepts. I'm in slide 31 if you're trying to follow. This is where it says tahur and tahir and najis, right? Tahur is the material that can be used to purify others and is pure in itself, such as water. You can use it to clean and it's clean in itself, right? Tahir is a material that's pure, but you cannot use it to clean others, such as milk, honey. They're clean. They're not impure, right? But you cannot use it to do ghusl or anything like that. And then there's and there's a najis. Najis is a material that's impure, right? Give me an example of material that's impure. Urine, right? Urine. And number 2, right? The discharges from the man-woman, right? In the marital affairs, right? So the types of water, yes.
Is vomit najis?
Is what?
Vomit.
You keep asking that question. It's like every class you ask the question, and I tell her I don't know. I do not know. I'm gonna get back to you on that. I'm sorry. I believe it's not, but I could be wrong. So take a pause on this one, please. Types of water in terms of tahur and tahir and najis. The stronger opinion is water can be only tahur, which means pure and purifying, or najis, impure. That's it. What about the middle thing? The milk and stuff, and that's not water. Basically, it's not water. So you take water, bucket of water, you drop mint in it, you drop flour in it, it's not water anymore. It's flour water. It's mint water. Then it's not water, then it actually gets out of this classification altogether. So the water can be either pure or impure. End of story. Right? I'm trying to save you some of the analysis. And then there is the very strong concept in page 33, which is basically that the water cannot be impure by anything or rendered impure by anything except something which changes its smell, taste, and color. Right? We talked about that. Right? It's da'if hadith, but it's actually but it's verified by the ijma'. Ijma' meaning the scholars agree that this is the concept of water. And we said that the ijma' is one of the principles of fiqh, right? And we talked about that. Yeah, I have to skip the reconciliation. I'm sorry. It's a lot of analysis. So basically, water is either tahur or najis, right? And only tahur water can be exclusively cold water. Think about that. Only the tahur water can be exclusively cold water, and water can be affected by taste, smell, or color, right? And then we get to the size. There's a hadith that says, well, never mind the hadith. That's hadith number 4. But basically, when we talked about the size, meaning the size of the water that you're using, did we come up to a conclusion that says the size of the water matter if it becomes pure or impure? No. We said at the end of the day, the size of the water, meaning you have a water fill that room, or you have a water this much, it does not matter. At the end of the day, you must look for changes. If you see those changes in this room or in this little bucket, that is your indication right there, right? And we went over the hadith that talks about the size, and we explained why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ talked about the size of the water, right? Right. So let's yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to choose what to tell you because there's so much stuff. And I didn't realize the review is going to be so tough. Because I'm trying to jump and you guys might think like, wow, this is confusing. Sorry, I apologize. Just try to follow me in the general concept, okay? So I'm at slide 43. I'm keep going. Sometimes Prophet Muhammad used the fiqh principle to explain what's more than fiqh. For example, Aisha radiallahu anha, she got jealous from Safiya radiallahu anha, both of them were Prophet Muhammad wives. So Aisha said something mean about Safiya. Prophet Muhammad told her, you have said a word, if it was to be mixed with the seawater, it would have changed it all of it. See, seawater is very hard to change, right? To make it impure. So that's the concept of purity of the water. Prophet Muhammad used it to say what you did is really bad. Interesting, right? So this is just that. Right. So let's go to the conclusions, right? Conclusions is page 45. If an impure material, najis, right? If an impure material is dropped into water, right? If an impure material is dropped into water, if there is no change in color, taste, or smell, then the water is fine. You can use it for ghusl, you can use it for wudu, you're fine. Even though you dropped impure material in it. If you don't see a change in color, or smell, or taste, then you can make wudu, you can make ghusl with it, you're absolutely fine, right? Even though you dropped impurity, right? Now, if there are any changes in color, taste, or smell, then that water is najis, is impure. You cannot use it for wudu. You cannot use it for ghusl, right? To clarify, clean yourself. Are we concerned about quantity or size? No, we're not. Now, here's the second scenario. If a pure material, you're not talking about impure now, pure material, piece of mint, tea bag, whatever, chocolate, right? I'm not dropping the chocolate, but just in case it drops, I love chocolate, okay? If a pure material drops into water, if there is no change in taste, color, or smell, then fine. You can use that water to make wudu, right? What about if there are changes to smell, taste, or color? Let's see if you've been listening.
That it's not water anymore.
It's not water anymore. And then?
It doesn't mean it's impure, but you can't use that water for wudu.
Excellent answer. It doesn't mean it's impure. It's still pure because you dropped pure material. So it didn't make it impure, but you cannot use it to make wudu or ghusl because there's a change. But if there was no change, it's fine. You getting the concept? Okay? And the chocolate, of course, cannot eat it. It's wet. So, few things. So, quick questions to see if people were listening. Can we make wudu with... Sorry, can I choose or you... Okay, raise hand. Can you make wudu with a rose water? water, you drip some rose flower. Can you make wudu? Raise your hand if you know the answer. Don't be scared. You can say yes or no. Yes.
No,
Because
because it's not water anymore.
it's not water anymore. And you wait.
Checks the smell.
You have to check the changes, right? So if there was no changes at all, then yes, you can. But the fact that we mentioned rose water, then most likely they have been changed, right? Okay, can we make wudu with Zamzam water? You know Zamzam water, right? Can we make wudu with Zamzam water? Yes. But it's called Zamzam water. What's the deal? It's not water.
That's the something.
Ah, that's good. Good catch. It's only the name of the well, but it is still water, right? It's just the name of the place. Okay. You have a bucket of water and you drop a soap in it. Can you make wudu or ghusl in it? So you have to check first. Before you say no, you gotta check, right? So if you drop it and there's immediate change, yes. But if not, take it out and you actually can use it, right? If there's no changes, then you can use it, right? And if you drop an impurity into a bucket of water, then what to do?
If it, you also have to check if it changes.
You have to check for changes. If there are changes, then,
If there are changes, then it's impure and you can't use it.
and if there are no changes,
And you can throw it.
They can-
You can use it.
you can use it, right? So, this is for you, sister. What's her name? It's for you. You've been answering. Who else answer? It's me. It's me. Sister Maksura, I know you answer in the morning, so it's for you. Did you answer? You didn't answer anything? I think you did. You try. Mustafa, you did. Steve, you're quiet. See what happened when you're quiet? You gotta get in. Who else? Oh, you answered too. These are all halal chocolate. Okay, we check every single thing we eat. Alhamdulillah. So another question: can we make ghusl? You know what's ghusl, right? Ghusl after janaba or after period for women or something. Can we make ghusl from Zamzam water? Yes, right? Why? It's still water, right? It's still water. If you can make wudu, then of course you can make ghusl, right? Now, can you recite Quran on water and then you take a bath with it, and then the water goes down the drain? Is that a bad thing? So you have water, you recite Quran, you take a ghusl with it, and then the water goes down the drain. Did you disrespect the Quran?
Yes.
You did?
No.
Okay. Yes? Why yes?
If it was, like, the way it's supposed to be for, you have a gin in you or something like that?
You mean the evil eye?
No.
Jinn.
No.
Ruqya, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you do that?
Ruqya, you're not supposed to let the water go down the drain.
Oh, it doesn't? You don't?
No.
Okay, but forget the ruqya for a second. I didn't know that. But let's say you recite Quran and then you take the bath with it or ghusl with it. Did you disrespect the Quran? No, because Quran is not in the water, right? You just recited Quran, right? And the water itself is still considered water and it's pure, and you take ghusl with it. There's no problem with that, right?
Saying Bismillah before you drink.
You can say Bismillah before you drink, right? Coffee drops in bucket of water. Can you use it for wudu? If there is changes, don't be quick to say no. You have to see if there are changes, right? Okay, so this is this class. Let's move on. What time is it? 7:16. Okay. Let's go to 4. So class 4, we talked about the stagnant water, the flowing water, and used water, right? Long class. So, huh? I know, we took like 2 hours in each one of those classes, so I'm sure I don't know how to do a review, but just bear with me. So Prophet Muhammad said, none of you should take a bath in stagnant water while he is junub. Junub is the state of tahara, or in impurity rather, right? That comes from when the wife and husband together, right? But it's not just together. The state of junub is the fuqaha define it as discharge without contact or contact without discharge. What that means is the only example I can think of is the husband is here and the wife is in China. She went to travel and they talk on the phone, got excited, so discharge, right? There's no contact, but there's discharge. Then he needs to make ghusl, and same thing if for the wife. The other scenario is that they actually contact, their private parts contact, but none of them actually have discharge. They still need to make ghusl. That's also state of junub. People think only when the discharge happens, right? No. If the two private parts meet, that's hadith, then you have to do ghusl, right? So the first hadith, Prophet Muhammad said, none of you should take a bath in stagnant water while he is junub. The second hadith, it says, none of you should urinate or forbade urinating in stagnant water. Okay? And then there's a third hadith, it says, none of you should urinate in stagnant water in stagnant water that does not flow, and then take a bath in it. 3 different versions. So we hear all this thing about stagnant water. What's the deal? So the water in terms of flow is defined into 3. Number 1 is flowing water, al-ma'ul jari. This one has an entrance or a source, and it has an exit, right? Such as river or sea. And then there is stagnant water that has only a source, but it does not have an exit. That's what they call al-ma'ul da'im, such as a lake, or such as rainwater comes down, that's the source, and then gets stuck. And then the third one does not have a source, does not have an exit, right? And this is they call it al-ma'ul rakid, such as water in a tank or a reservoir or something like this, right? The source we don't know from, but the water is there, right? So can we reuse the water for wudu or ghusl? Opinion number 1, you cannot use used water, meaning you use the water and then whatever is left over, someone else use it. Can you do that? Opinion 1 says no, you cannot, right? For example, one person used water from a bucket, the second person cannot use that bucket again, the leftover. Opinion 2 says no, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. This one, use water, whatever is left, you can still use it to continue your wudu or ghusl, right? Opinion 2 wins, without getting into a lot of details. Opinion 2 wins, meaning usage of the water has nothing to do with the impurity of the water, right? So some person who's, he's taking water from a bucket, and you might be laughing, who takes water from a bucket, right? But some countries, they don't have sometimes water all the time, so they gather water in buckets, and that's how you use. Inshallah, you don't have to be in that situation ever. You might, inshallah, you won't. But if you do, you know what to do, right? Or maybe people back home or whatever it is, you can advise them, right? So opinion 2 wins, meaning someone take the water, whatever is left over, right? You can actually use it. That's what's called used water too. Yes.
Wait, so it's still clean because whatever he used it or she used it.
That part is gone, and whatever is left in the bucket, it's still
The
clean.
unused part is-
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now right. So basically usage has no effect on the purity of water. You're not talking about gathering the water that this person used. That's weird. No. That's weird, but that's it.
Doctor, okay, in some villages they have ponds.
They have what?
They have ponds where they have
Clines?
Ponds.
Oh, pond. Okay.
Right. So it's like is there a base with some water? That's where everybody goes to shower. It's
Everybody jump in and
Yeah.
okay. So we're gonna talk about this. These are these hadith. So hang in there. Okay. Right. We talked about size of the water, the quantity of the water. We said that size has nothing to do with purity. So let's skip that. Let's skip 9 and let's skip 10, and you can absolutely read it if you want to. Right. Hmm. Let's come to the conclusion at page 15. For stagnant water, we do not use size to gauge its purity, right? Stagnant water that's trapped in a place, we do not say if it's bigger than this amount or less than this amount is pure or not. The reason I'm saying that is because there was a hadith that says if the water is more than 2 qulla is 500 liters, then nothing will make it impure, right? And we got into a lot of analysis to explain why this hadith was there, because this is what generally happens. Sometimes hadith explain to you what generally happens, not a specific rule for everything. So in other words, forget qulla for a second, okay? Qulla is just a measure. If the water is a lot, the chances are to make it impure is almost very little to impossible, right? Think sea, how can you make that impure, right? Or a big river or something like that, right? So that's why. Right, so we talked about that. We talked about junub. So the 3 hadith we have is basically hadith 1, which is 5A, C and 5A and C and D, is do not take a bath in stagnant water while you're junub. This is page 19, and please, when you go home, read it. And number 2 is do not urinate in stagnant water. And number 3, do not urinate in stagnant water and then take a bath from it. All these hadith, actually, if you think about it, they kind of support each other, one way or the other, right? Right. We also have the concept in page 21, which we call it al-a'la lil-adna. If something applies to a situation which is higher than others, it applies to this one, then it also applies to the lower. So, for example, the Prophet Muhammad said, "Do not make ghusl in stagnant water while you are junub." Ghusl is higher than wudu, right? Because ghusl, you need to take complete bath. Wudu is simple, right? So ghusl is higher. Because of that, this hadith could have been said exactly, replace ghusl with wudu. Do not make wudu from stagnant water, right? Forget junub, but do not make wudu from stagnant water, right? Or sometimes you can go lesser to higher. So for example, junub, which is a situation from the marital affair between the husband and wife, and then the menses of the women, which one is higher? Menses. Why? Because for junub, for janaba, you take ghusl, you're good. For menses, you still have to wait for the period to finish. So it doesn't matter you take ghusl or not. That's why it's stronger, it's higher, right? So menses is higher than junub, right? Then the hadith that says do not take a bath in stagnant water while junub could also be said do not take a bath in stagnant water while in menses. You see the concept how to apply it, right? It's just something simple, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran says فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا. When you talk to your parents, don't say uff. Uff is like, just leave me alone. So if someone take this literally, says, okay, I cannot say to my parents, but I can curse them and I can be mean to them. Wrong, right? Why? Because this is higher than this. So if this small thing you can do, then of course the big thing you cannot do, right? That is called al-adna lil-a'la, smaller or lesser to higher, right? In 4 minutes, right? Okay, if anybody wants to make wudu, we're gonna pray in a few minutes. Okay. Everybody has wudu. Cool. So then let's come to the ruling of the hadith on the stagnant water. Opinion number 1 says it's makruh or prohibited to take ghusl from stagnant water, right? You have a bathtub, you put the water there and you take ghusl from it while you are junub, right? Opinion 2 says no, it's haram. Don't do that because of the hadith, right? Different opinions. Which opinions win? Okay, in order for us to understand that, right, we need few principles. Number one is some scholar says if Prophet Muhammad ﷺ prohibits something, then it's haram. If he says no, it's haram. Don't do it, then it's haram, right? Prohibition necessitates forbiddance, right? For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, La tushriku billah, do not associate with Allah. End the story, haram, right? In that case, that hadith said, taking bath while you're junub is haram from a stagnant water, right? But opinion number 1A, it's a variation of that, says, this is fine, except in manners. Except in the manners, the adab. What's manners? Like shower, like eating. So they say, okay, Prophet Muhammad said, don't eat with your left hand. If you eat with your left hand, is it haram or is it makruh? According to that opinion, it's makruh because it's a manner in food. And that's from the mercy of Allah. It's makruh. You should do your best to try to eat with your right hand. But let's say for whatever reason you can't, it's makruh. It's better not to do it, but you're not going to earn a sin to do that. So principle 1, forbiddance equals haram except in manners. Principle number 2 adds to that is when it is haram, then that action that you did is not valid, right? If it's haram or even or haram with variation to it, then that deed or that action that you did is invalid, right? So then, following the above points, someone making ghusl or wudu from stagnant water, would his ghusl or wudu be invalid or valid? It depends on which opinion you take. If you take opinion 1, water is tahur, so wudu is accepted even though he did not follow the Prophet. The water is tahur. Even though he did not follow the Prophet, but the water is still tahur, then wudu is accepted. But if you take opinion 2, water is tahur, but the usage of this water, because of the hadith, is haram. The water is still pure, but the usage of it is haram. In that case, your ghusl or wudu is not accepted. So it's two different opinions, right? Right. So so assume that we say it's makruh. What is the real reason that it, 1 minute, is not using water while junub? The most acceptable view here is that because when you do that and you're junub and you jump into the stagnant water, it disgusts people. It disgusts people. So that's for that reason Islam even goes with the fitrah. Goes with the fitrah. So when Prophet Muhammad said, don't take ghusl from a stagnant water, in the stagnant water while you're junub, not to give you a hard time, because that's the fitrah. You know, you want running water, you want it, you know, that kind of stuff, right? So that is, and this is why there was the third hadith, do not urinate in that stagnant water and then take ghusl from it, right? Makes sense, right? It's disgusting, right? So that's why the hadith comes. So conclusion, number 1, Islam has consideration for our environment. Islam forbids to make something that's pure to be impure. That's why it says don't urinate in stagnant water. Don't jump in when you're junub. Number 2, Islam considers the fitrah and what disgusts people. We talked about that. Number 3, macro benefits wins over micro benefits. Some guys, I'm dying, I gotta urinate, I gotta go to that lake. His benefit is to urinate. But if he does that, he might pollute it for the others, for the animals, for other people. So what's more important? The group. Macro benefit over micro benefit. Very, very important concept in fiqh. Because if everyone says just me, we don't have society in Islam. There's always a macro benefit over micro benefit, right? And then, of course, impurity can only be introduced through change and requires evidence. Go ahead. And requires, make it down, okay? And requires the evidence. You must see that change. Not just, I drop something, that's it, I'm not going to use it. You must see a change, smell the change, taste the change, then it is impure. And that's it. That was this. Bismillah. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Okay, so let's continue. So, and all these hadith are in the book, right? Bulugh al-Maram, you can get it for $20. You can download it from the page, right? Careful with that. So, Mustafa, either here or there, because we're recording. Yeah, it's recording. Did you say it's recording?
Yeah, it is.
All right. So, hadith number 6, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ forbade that a woman to bathe or to take ghusl from the water left over by a man, and a man from bathing with the water left over by a woman. This is husband-wife. Okay, let's not get confused. Instead, they should scoop handfuls of water together. Right. This is hadith number 6. If you remember, we talked about the used water. If someone used water and the leftover in the bucket is still clean, right? Unless there's something drops or anything like that. Now, right. On the other hand, there's another hadith, which is, I call it hadith 7a, that Ibn Abbas said that Abdullah ibn Abbas said that Ibn Abbas, right, who was his father, told him that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to bathe with the water left over by Maymuna. Who's Maymuna? His wife, right? So the first hadith says, don't use water left over by your wife, and vice versa. But here, he actually did, right? So this is a very interesting concept, right? This is when the Orientalists, right? Orientalists are people who are not Muslim. Generally, they are European, whatever, and they study Islam and they study Arabic very well to come to study Islam and Quran and Hadith to attack Islam, to find gaps, whatever they, right? Funny, and it's actually in the same time embarrassing because they learn Arabic so well, and we don't. But we should. Okay, but that's another time. So the Orientalists in this case, and by the way, the Orientalists, some of them who study Islam so well became Muslims. And many of them did not. Out of arrogance, out of this, out of that. Think about it. The uncle of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, before he died, he could have been Muslim, right? He'd seen a lot of things, but he didn't. Why? Because of the pride. Because of the pride. That's why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that he is the least punishment in hell. His uncle is the least punishment in hell. Okay? So the Orientalists come to this hadith, two hadith, and says, see, one said don't, one he did. The hadith is confusing, right? Now, when there are, and this is a very important concept, that's why I'm going to kind of explain it a little bit. Yes, Mustafa.
Least punishment. His uncle seen the Prophet, so he's going to get punished the least.
Right.
Or, how does that, I don't understand.
I don't know why, but he said he's the least punishment in hell. Least. There's people with different levels of punishment. He is going to hell because he did not become Muslim, right? But he's the least punishment. Allah Alam, maybe because he supported the Prophet so much, he defended the Prophet so much, right? And the least punishment in hell, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ describes to us, the man with the least punishment is the one who has his shoelaces made of hell, of fire, and for that his brain will boil. So don't think least punishment is a simple thing. That's the least punishment. And that man with the least punishment would think he has the strongest punishment in hell. Astaghfirullah. So inshallah, we should plan not to pass there at all. Inshallah. May Allah make everyone here, inshallah, and their loved ones, and their families, and their teachers, and everyone, inshallah, go to Jannat al-Firdaus. I mean, which Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the prophets, and the pious, and the righteous, and the martyrs. I mean. So, when there are two texts, two hadith, that seem to collide, we have to say the word seem to collide. And both hadiths are sahih. So it's not like one is da'if and one is not, right? There are three things to do. Number one is what we call jam, meaning reconciliation. Meaning we take both hadith. We're going to explain what that means. Meaning combine. Number two is tarjih. We take one hadith and we do not take the second hadith even though they both are sahih. And there are rules for that. And number three is called abrogation or naskh. We take one hadith and we completely ignore the other hadith. Now, Let's see what that means. Number one, reconciliation. Conciliation. So I give you an example. So Jibreel came to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, says, "Akhbirni an al-iman." Tell me what is iman, right? And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said what? Iman is based on 6 pillars, and he explained to him the 6 pillars. In another hadith, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said what? Al-iman 71 shu'ba, 70 something branch. So here, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said iman is 6 pillars. Here, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said iman 70 something branches. You know the answer. You know the answer. What do you think is going on here? How many are iman?
Aren't they two different things, pillars and branches?
2 different things, okay? You're on the right path.
Oh, I see.
That's not a complete answer. Go ahead. Okay, so 6.
Those 6 pillars, this is the criteria to become Muslim. Right, he wants to have those 6 things.
So these are the foundations. These are the absolute must. Right. And then
70 things, those are just, even if you're missing 1 or 2, you're still Muslim.
these are
Those are branches. So it's like even if the branches and 1 or 2 is not there, you're still
right.
Muslim.
You have less iman, but you're still Muslim. Perfect. So this is the foundation, and out of that, there's so many different things, right? For example, he says, "Wal-haya'u shu'batun min al-iman." Shyness is branch of iman, right? Someone does not have haya, it's not good, but he's not mu'min or iman, right? Okay. So in this case, that's how you reconcile. They both are fine, but this is meaning something different than this, right? Number 2 is reconciliation. There's another example of reconciliation. An old man came to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, said, "When I fast, can I kiss my wife?" Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "Yes." A young man came later, "When I fast, can I kiss my wife?" He says, "No." Did Prophet Muhammad change his mind? ﷺ? No. It's because the old man can control himself. The young man maybe cannot control himself. So sometimes you have to understand the fiqh can be flexible depending on certain situations, right? Okay. And then the second one is the second one is tarjih, which is selection. You select one over the other, even though both hadith could be authentic, both hadith could be sahih. Why? Some of the rules to do that is one hadith has more narrators than the other one. One has more narrators than this one has less narrators, and of course the narrators are fiqh or trusted, right? Or this hadith was narrated by someone who stayed around Prophet Muhammad ﷺ longer time than the other narrator. This becomes kind of in the matter of choice. Or this narrator had a stronger memory than this one. These are all reasons to say yes. To do tarjih, right? I don't have an example for now. And then the third one is abrogation. You take one and you do not one completely over the other. For example, and this usually happen related to time. So for example, have you heard of zawaj al-mut'a or the what's mut'a? Temporary marriage in Islam. So temporary marriage in Islam was allowed at one point in time, and then the text came to forbid it. Right now, the Shia still use it. Temporary marriage means what? Meaning someone marries someone temporarily. I'm gonna marry you for 2 months. Of course, that's haram. Why are you laughing? Don't do that.
I just told her what it was.
Yeah, 2 months. Okay,
I said 3 months.
She said
3 months. Right. Well, it's not 3 or 2. It's a matter of you're specifying a time to marriage. This in itself invalidates marriage. Marriage should be indefinite unless something happened, of course, right? But you cannot start the marriage with saying we're going to marry only 2 months, 2 years, even if it's 20 years. You cannot specify time, right? Shia said this is halal, blah, blah, blah. BS. Sorry, it's not, because there's text that says it's haram, right? Or another example, for example, if you look at the alcohol earlier on, it was okay. It was allowed, but it was saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, thanks Mustafa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says it has benefits, it has harm, and the harms are more than the benefits. And then later a text came says, and the Quran says it's haram, right? And the Sahaba, it was the culture to drink alcohol at the time. And when that text came, they said the rivers were flowing with alcohol. Everybody was breaking everything they had instantly. Not like well, maybe I should just finish this bottle. Don't do that. But these 3 steps, combining them, choosing one over the other, even though both are selection, even both are sahih, and then the third one, choosing one completely over the other, the best is to start with combining, right? Because there's a concept in Islam that says using both dalils or using both proofs is better than neglecting one. It's better than neglecting one, right? Okay. Right. So before we reconcile the 2 hadith that we talked about, that he said don't use the water from your wife and opposite, and then the one that says he used water from one of his wives, let's look at another hadith, which is I forgot which number is this in your book, but it's slide number 14. That one of the wives of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ took a bath from a vessel. Then the Prophet came, and when he wanted to take a bath from the same vessel, she asked him, she said, I was sexually impure. And he told her, water does not become sexually impure. She took ghusl from it, but the used water itself that is left is not impure, right? Basically, that's what he said. Okay.
Brother, I don't understand. Do you mean like the water she used was still in the bucket, or the remaining water?
The remaining water. Right. So she said, I took ghusl from it, like I touched the water that's still, and he says water is not going to be sexually impure itself. It can change, but the water itself is not going to be affected by that. Again, you still have to look at the changes at the end of the day, right? Right. So, the conclusion, right? If one hadith prohibits, which is the first hadith, it says don't use water from your wife don't use water from husband, and another hadith allows it, that makes the ruling makruh. Not haram, makruh. One says yes, one says no, that makes the ruling makruh, right? So basically it's makruh to bathe with leftover water from your wife or your husband, right? It's makruh. You can, it's actually not impure, but it's makruh to do so, right? Right. So then someone will say, then why hadith number 6 at all? That say don't use the water from husband, don't use the water from wife, is because the reason is that someone might not want to use the leftover from someone else. So they give them that option as well, right? Meaning naturally might not like it. However, you cannot prohibit someone from using it because it's still tahur. The water itself is still tahur, but it's makruh, right? So that's the reason for that hadith. Now, does that apply to a man and a man? No, it does not, because there's no hadith that say that. So if I use water and then my roommate come and use the leftover, that's fine. It's absolutely okay. Few things. Can we make a ruling based on one hadith and one hadith only? The answer is, what do you think? Yes or no?
I would say no, unless it's one that's only been carried by
One time.
been carried once.
Okay. Any other answer? Steve, you're being quiet. Yes. If there's only one evidence and one evidence alone and it's authentic, then yes, you can, right? Provided that there's no other evidence that may reduce it or change it, right? Right. And I give the example for eating with your left hand or eating and drinking while standing. For example, there is a hadith that says don't do that, don't eat or drink while you're standing, right? If you just look at that hadith, you say it's haram. But there's another narration that says that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, once or twice he stood and he drank Zamzam water while he was standing, right? And that makes what? Makes the ruling to be makruh. So it's better not to do that while you are standing or to drink or eat. But if you have to, you have to. Sometimes when you're working, you're in a hurry, you can do that. But if you have the time, it's better to sit. And scientifically it says when you sit, it's actually better for your digestion system and so on and so forth. Okay, we're done with this one. We can stop here, and I think we should, right? So, if I go anymore, I know you're gonna kill me. So we stopped at 4B. Feel free to read and ask questions.